Well, hello there. I'm Poppa Jon, and I love to talk about movies that I love that others don't. And to go along with that, there are some franchises where I have unpopular opinions, and this happens to be one of them. Today, I will be ranking the Child's Play franchise. I'm going to be talking about movies that I love that others don't, or at least the fandom of the franchise doesn't necessarily love. Maybe they do. Some of them do. This is a franchise where I don't think there's a definitive number one. So we can discuss that. You can discuss that in the comments when I put your favorite down low or your least favorite up top. So let's get started. Now, I have a weird relationship with this franchise because as a character, Chucky is one of my favorites. I love Chucky. I have Chucky here. I have a little tiny Chucky there. I have a Chucky knife thing made out of wood. The painted record back there. I have a lot of Chucky stuff.
I'm gonna rip your fucking guts out and smear them all over your face! Oh, man.
That being said, there's actually 4 of these movies, so like half of this franchise I didn't even see until this year. And to be fair, that's because while I love the character of Chucky, the franchise itself has never been for me. I love the unhinged, sarcastic slasher nature of the character of Chucky, but I don't like possessed dolls. That's just not my thing. And so it's one of those weird things. It's the opposite of the Texas Chainsaw franchise, where I love the movies in the franchise, but I'm not a big fan of Leatherface. This is the opposite. I love Chucky, but I'm not necessarily in love with the franchise or the films.
Look who's stalking.
A haircut ain't regulation, soldier.
Regulate this!
Now, my least favorite Child's Play film would have to be Child's Play 3. Now, I'll say right now, prior to this year, I had only seen the films that are titled Child's Play. So like the 4 that actually have Child's Play in the name. And this one is still in last place, even after seeing the other 4 films. And to be fair, if it's only based on the third act, this would be a lot higher. I think it's actually a really cool third act when they're in the amusement park, when they make it to the amusement park. I think that's all visually really cool and done pretty well for this cheesy slasher film. The problem with this film is everything before that. I don't like the setting in the military school. I don't like any of the characters. I don't really feel the need to ever rewatch it that much. But at the same time, unlike a couple other films that I'm going to talk about next, this one doesn't actually do anything offensive. But at the same time, it's just kind of there.
A true classic never goes out of style.
And that leads us to the next film on this list. At number 7, we have The Cult of Chucky. This is a film that I went in thinking it was actually going to be one of my favorites. It has everything going for it in terms of what I like. I love cults. I love sort of mental asylum settings and hospital settings. I love psychological horror. This had all of those elements just in it from a conceptual standpoint. And it did not deliver. Visually, I think it's one of the coolest in the franchise, but I also think that makes it even more disappointing. It's the most disappointing in the franchise, in my opinion. This one had those great concepts, but I don't think they took it seriously enough. Unlike some other films in this franchise even, that we'll talk about later, as well as just other possessed doll films, it's usually the opposite. A lot of times I think they take them too seriously. In this one, I don't think they took it seriously enough because they actually had like really good idea and concepts in this, and they just don't take it that seriously, mainly because, in my opinion, watching a possessed doll walk around and stabbing people, that's not necessarily serious. I can't take it seriously myself, and so when I see it in a movie, to me it feels like the movie's not taking itself seriously. As opposed to like a couple films on this list, as well as something like Annabelle, where the possessed doll, for the majority of the movie, you're not physically seeing it running around and doing all this stuff. It's just kind of like you see a hand move. You see footsteps across the floor, but you don't see the actual doll. just moving around willy-nilly. And I think that's the best way, is sort of, for a possessed doll movie, the best way is to treat it kind of like Godzilla 2014, where it's all kind of hinted at, it's alluded to. You see little snippets here and there, and then you get like a third act reveal of the possessed doll killing someone.
What the hell is going on in here?
She came on to me.
No wonder her career's in trouble.
And that leads us to number 6, The Seed of Chucky. This is one that I think most people have in last place, and I understand why. And in terms of taking itself seriously, this one does not take itself seriously at all. And it's dealing with a somewhat serious subject matter-ish. But if you know you're not taking it seriously, and you embrace the fact you're not taking it seriously, you can get away with that. Cult of Chucky did not take itself seriously, did not take the subject matter seriously, but it acted like it was, and that's where its downfall is. Here, it doesn't take anything seriously, and it doesn't try to take anything seriously. And that's why I put it above of Cult. To be fair, all 3 of these films at the bottom have the same score in my mind. But this one is the one I will definitely rewatch the most out of those 3. It's one of those, when I finished watching it, I thought it was both the worst in the franchise and the best in the franchise. It's got amazing, so bad, it's good fun to it, and just, I have a blast watching this film. And I'm going to rewatch it again, probably. It's probably going to be one I rewatch the most. It's one of those that on paper I should hate, but I don't. I loved it. I love the journey all 3 of the doll characters go through. And it doesn't really bother me with seeing the dolls run around and scurry in this one as much, because it's not taking itself seriously. And it's not trying to take itself seriously, and it's not acting like it. So I think it has a decent message as well that I like, having messages in crazy-ass stories without making it feel like it's preaching to you. And so I do appreciate that about this film. There's not much to say, because to be fair, I just love it. I don't necessarily think it's good, but I love it. Now, this is where the ranking takes a divide. The last 3 films, I pretty much would give all the same score. And I'd probably give them a thumbs down, if I was being honest, for as much as I genuinely enjoy watching Seed of Chucky. I don't enjoy watching it because it's necessarily good. The next 5 films, however, I would give a thumbs up to, and honestly, I'd probably give them the same score, which means out of this whole franchise, there's like 2 scores I would give out. And I think that's my thing with this franchise. These next 5 films, I think they're all quality-wise pretty much the same. It just comes down to my personal preferences. So if the film I have at number 5 is everyone else's number 1, okay, fine. Because I'm pretty sure that's probably what's going to happen. Because at number 5, I have
Nothing innocent about Child's Play.
the original Child's Play from 1988. This is one of those that I don't enjoy. It doesn't give me as much fun as a few of the other films coming up. And it's one that I think it does do the whole kind of, you don't see a whole lot until, a third act reveal where he spins his head around and the mom freaks out. So it does kind of follow that formula that I personally prefer in these types of films. I think it's more of an aging thing. I didn't grow up with it, and I just watch it now, and it feels a little dated. I'm not into the whole voodoo possessing a doll thing. I don't know what I just did there with my hands, but I'm not into that, and because of that, it isn't here, and it's not Chucky's best one-liners. They're not his best character work as a killer. I like the idea of the whole child of Andy, people acting like he's like crazy, not crazy, but child psychologist stuff. I like the idea of exploring all of that.
Did you miss me, Andy? I sure missed you.
Child's Play 2.
And next, at number 4, we have Child's Play 2. I do think this is a slight, just very slight step up from the first one, but I do feel like it does what the first one mostly does, but I think it has better kills. I think Chucky is a better, more fun character to be had in this cheesy slasher. And it follows a very similar formula. And then I just think the third act is a hell of a lot better than the first film's third act. I love the whole atmosphere of them being at the good guy doll factory and just the stuff you can do and play around with that. I just think it's better third act. I think it's a better atmosphere, better setting, and I like the teacher kill. It's a good kill. So let's move on. And kicking off our top three, we have Curse of Chucky. I think if you're looking for a possessed doll, a serious possessed doll child's play Chucky film, this is the best one for you, because I do think it's the one that does the whole kind of alluding to illusion. You don't fully see Chucky in its full form walking around killing people until the third act. And it's just kind of, it feels like it's there in this haunted house setting, even though it's not like haunted. And it's just really well done. Weirdly enough, I'm a big fan of the rat poison kill. I thought that was a brilliant way to give Chucky a slasher kill without it being obviously a just stabbing murder. I like that. And I just like the way they play around with Chucky around this house and how they play around with the handicapped woman. I just think they do a really good job atmospherically in this film. I do think some of the characters are a little annoying. You can pretty much say that about any movie in this franchise. Moving on.
He's got a playmate of his own. Bride of Chucky.
In second place, we have Bride of Chucky. This is a film that I genuinely enjoy the tone of it. How it's just kind of this balls to the walls, just black comedy slasher that doesn't really give a fuck. I love that about this film. Now, like I said, I'm not a big fan of seeing dolls just running around on screen like that. But one of the reasons I do enjoy this is it kind of gives off a similar vibe and tone to my favorite horror movie of all time, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. I just genuinely enjoy the tone and the fun that is had in this film. I think it's just a great sit down with friends and just have fun watching Chucky kill people with great one-liners, and just you'll have fun. You'll have fun watching this film. And that's pretty much why it's in second place and why I think it's one of the best in the franchise. Just, it's the most fun to watch. And as controversial as it might sound, my favorite Child's Play film is the remake. I genuinely enjoyed this film the first time I saw it in theaters. I still enjoy it today. From a personal note, I've said it enough times, I'm not a big fan of watching possessed dolls run around. And you actually get a lot of that in this film. The problem is, or the good thing is, the reason it's not a problem here, is because it's not a possessed doll. It's a robot. It's an AI gone rogue. And so it's essentially just a small Terminator in a weird way. And because of that, it doesn't bother me to see him running around. This isn't a doll possessed by the spirit of a serial killer. It's an AI gone wrong. And to me, it's easier to buy into that concept. I find that concept more scary and more horrifying for a horror movie. And so I genuinely enjoy this movie a lot better. Plus, I like the cinematography. And I find Mark Hamill's voice acting creepier than Don Mancini. I think Don Mancini, for the movies that he does, not Don Mancini, god damn it, Brad Dourif, he's the voice actor. For the Don Mancini movies, his voice works perfectly. But I think Mark Hamill's voice is more creepy. I'm just going to be honest, that might be controversial, but I just find it more creepy. And the only big issue I have with this film is I do think the Buddy doll, they're not good guys in this, he looks a little wonky. They could have designed him a little better to make him look a little better. And, the characters, they're not all the best. They're, like most films in this franchise. and just most slashers in general. But I love slashers, so that's not something that gets in the way of enjoyment for me. And I am a big fan of Aubrey Plaza, and I think she does a great job in this film. And while this film doesn't have the jokey one-liners in the same way that the previous films do, they still have stuff in there, and they are more set up here. Like, they'll have something that you don't even necessarily realize is something that Chucky will play back to them, but he does, or say back, or play back, whatever. In the third act, that's something that was said at the beginning of the movie. And so I like how they weave stuff like that through this. So when it comes down to it, at the bottom line, I just prefer AI gone rogue movies over possessed doll movies. That's really the main separation here as to why I have the remake at number 1. And also, as a caveat, I have not seen the TV show. I might at some point. I'm not big on horror television, even though I love horror movies. But anyway, tell me in the comment section down below why I'm wrong, why Cult of Chucky is the best, why the remake is the worst. Tell me everything in the comment sections down below. If you like this, hit the thumbs up. If you hated it, hit the thumbs down. Hit the subscribe button if you want to hear me talk about movies that I love that others don't. And as always, keep it hot.
Women. Can't live with them.
Pass the beer nuts.